Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Israel Brief with me, Rolene Marks, where we gather every Monday to Thursday to take a look at those top stories making the headlines. Now, before we get into the top stories, just a reminder that if you have an audience question, and today we have two, please pop them in the comment section below or be in touch with us via our website or our various social media. Tomorrow is Thursday, which means I announce your choices for mensch or menches and morons of the week. So menches is those people who you think deserve to be applauded for doing something great this week. And a moron is, well, a moron. So let's take a look at those top stories. It is day 600. It is day 600 since the 7th of October. How the hell are we on day 600 where 58 hostages still remain captive in the hell of Gaza? Now, at 6:29 this morning, which coincides with the time that the Hamas attack started on Israel on the 7th of October, Israelis gathered at various points across the country and formed big yellow ribbons to raise awareness about the hostage crisis. Now, in Tel Aviv, across the embassy building belonging to the US Embassy, crowds gathered on the beach forming a yellow ribbon with the words on the beach saying, "Save them now." There have also been protests across the country, with many demanding that Prime Minister Netanyahu accepts a ceasefire deal. There have also been calls from the hostage families to remove Ron Dermer, who is one of the chief negotiators, from the hostage team, saying that he is impeding the ongoing negotiations. Meanwhile, President Herzog, addressing the conference on anti-Semitism taking place as we speak at Yad Vashem, that is Israel's Holocaust Museum and Memorial, and involves many foreign ministers and dignitaries from around the world. The president said this in his speech. He says, "Today marks 600 days since the horrific massacre of October 7th. Even as we gather here, the first and foremost victims of hatred remain out there in Gaza, held in Hamas dungeons, a horrific crime against humanity. We cannot be silent while this crime continues. I call on every person here to keep raising their voices until every single one of the hostages is back home." The president went on, "I recommend to the international community one simple idea. We are dealing with a genocidal jihadist organization, part of the Islamic Jihad proxies emanating from Tehran and its leadership. I suggest to the international community, sometimes our enemies interpret debates or arguments between colleagues or like-minded states as a weakness of Israel. They see criticism even from states like Canada, Australia, Britain, or France. They sometimes immediately hail that criticism without understanding that we all share the same vision: combating terror, combating anti-Semitism, and demanding the immediate release of our hostages. I suggest the international community show a united front, saying first and foremost, get the Israeli hostages out." And also with regards to the issue of aid, and the president went on to say, "I want to make it clear, we in Israel care. We care about the pain and agony also experienced by the civilian population, our Palestinian neighbors, but I recommend you look at the facts again. 400 trucks of food are currently sitting on the Gaza side of the border because the United Nations is refusing to distribute them. I urge the international community to adamantly demand that this aid be distributed immediately to the people in Gaza." Now, the president, in a very diplomatic way, raises some very important points, and I've certainly noticed it on social media, in particular X. We have diplomats from around the world, including the Foreign Affairs Chief of the European Union, all castigating Israel, all accusing Israel of withholding aid. Not one of them mentions the fact that today marks 600 days since the most horrific massacre against the Jewish people since the Holocaust. Not one of them has called for the immediate release of the hostages. We know that aid is going into Gaza. I have told you guys time and again how you can see for yourself. We've seen the footage. We've seen footage of Gazans receiving that aid, which I'm going to talk about in a second, from the Gaza Humanitarian Fund. Do you know who is starving in Gaza? The hostages are starving in Gaza. We have seen them released, absolutely emaciated. They have spoken time and again about systematic starvation in captivity. Not one world leader, not one celebrity, not one social justice warrior, not one NGO has demanded for 600 days that aid gets to the hostages. You can hear I am angry. I feel very passionate about this. Not one of them. We have seen the footage coming from Gaza. And yes, Palestinians are suffering. They are suffering terribly, and we in Israel care and acknowledge that. But there is no mass starvation. We hold the United Nations complicit in this blood libel. I think they actually do it deliberately. But we need every single person's voice. We cannot be silent now. We cannot be bystanders. What about aid for the hostages? What about medicine for the hostages? And for God's sake, release them now. Let's talk a bit about the aid distribution. And the Gaza Humanitarian Fund said a short while ago that they are suspending service for the moment in Gaza following what they call civil disorder. Now, yesterday there was chaos as the aid trucks tried to hand out aid. Remember, they are bypassing Hamas and inept UN agencies and giving aid directly to the people of Gaza. Yesterday, many breached the fences, pushing their way, stampeding to get that aid. Now, what I find absolutely preposterous is many people's reaction to the fact that, much like you see in a pop concert, in any kind of situation where people have to form lines or queues, there is actually like guardrails and lines. People are comparing that to concentration camps. Really, people, I have never seen anything like this in my life. We have a situation for the last 600 days where people watched the massacres of Israelis on the 7th of October and both celebrated and denied it in the same breath, have accused Israel of genocide. Meanwhile, the facts on the ground, the empirical data from Hamas says differently. And now we have a situation where apparently feeding the population of Gaza is a war crime. Really, this sickness of Israel phobia that people are delirious with around the world needs to stop, and it needs to stop now. If you suffer from Israel phobia and you think that making people stand in an orderly queue to receive their aid is a war crime or a breach of humanitarian norms, please seek some help. Now, the United Nations have criticized the Gaza Humanitarian Fund, accusing them of bypassing distribution lines, and the United States has accused the United Nations of being hypocrites. And we will keep a watch on this. The GHF is hoping that they will see some success. Yesterday they distributed about 8,000 boxes with nearly 500,000 food parcels. Yes, the food is Israeli. I'm also seeing outcry that how dare the Israelis give Israeli branded food to the Palestinians. But the GHF are hoping that if this process is successful, that they can push for international funding. Indonesia's president said earlier today that his country is willing to recognize the state of Israel on the provision that Israel recognize an independent Palestinian state. Indonesia is the largest Muslim majority country in the world. And finally, the IDF struck Houthi targets in Sana'a airport earlier today. This is in response to the ballistic missiles that have been fired at Israeli civilian infrastructure and homes. Prime Minister Netanyahu released a statement where he said that whoever harms us, they will be harmed, and reiterated that the Houthis are a symptom, but the real problem, the real responsibility lies with Iran. So those are our top stories. Let's take a look at those audience questions. And the first comes from Samuel Boyd, who says, how many hostages are still alive, and why are countries not demanding or asking about them? So Samuel, we know that out of the 58 hostages, 35 have been killed, whether on the 7th of October or in captivity, with the exception of Hadar Golden, who was killed in action in 2014 and his body taken captive by Hamas. We know for sure, because we've had proof of life, that at least 21 hostages are still alive, and we are very, very concerned about the fate of 3 hostages, 1 Thai, 1 Nepalese, 1 Israeli, who we haven't received proof of life and whose fate we are very, very worried about. And as for countries, that's the question we all want to know. That is the question we all want to know. This is not a political issue. This is a humanitarian crisis, and the world is complicit in their silence. And finally, Hillary Gordon wants to know, how is Naftali Bennett doing following his heart attack? Well, Hillary, he's out and about, he's making TV appearances, he's rejigging his political campaign, so it looks like he's doing just fine, I'm sure, with some lifestyle adjustments. So that's it from me for today. It's a very impassioned Israel brief. I might need to go have a cup of tea right now just to calm down. But guys, don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our YouTube channel is at the Israel Brief. It's right here. If you like our content, hit that red subscribe button. We are on LinkedIn at Rolene Marks, on Instagram at Rolene_Marks. Where else am I? I always forget it. And on X at Lay of the Land 5. Guys, God bless you all. Thank you for putting up with me and my passions, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.